Try to answer it.
D squared f by the x1.
D squared f by
the x1.
The x1 squared.
uh-huh.
Don't answer. Don't answer.
Yes, this is
Try to answer it. What would be your multi-index? You. Guess.
What is your alpha?
What's your alpha? Just guess.
2, 0, 0.
Yes.
Yes, is
you are right.
0 and 0.
You are very correct.
Is correct.
The length is 2.
Okay. So this is just notation. D alpha we know this is the partial derivative of f.
You answered it.
Now we have seen the definition of D of omega r.
Another question.
Is the set, yes?
I don't see something very simple. I don't see the link.
Huh?
I don't see the link.
You don't see the.
Yeah, what you mean by the link?
Okay. Help her. She doesn't see the length.
If you have alpha is a multi-index, means alpha is a vectors. Alpha 1 to alpha n in n power n. Each alpha I is an integer. We just define the length of alpha to be the sum of this alpha I. Sum of alpha I.
Yes.
Okay? If now, for example, I give you alpha to be 1, 1, and 1. For each I have 1. What is the length of alpha?
Yeah?
Huh?
No.
Is
1, 1, 1.
It's
1, 1, 1, 1.
N times.
Is n times. So the length of alpha is equal to n. If now you take alpha to be 0, 0, and 0, the length of alpha is equal to 0. What is d alpha f? If alpha is 0, what is d alpha f?
Just the link as well.
It's just f.
It's okay now. Is it okay?
Maybe I'll ask after class.
Eh? No, don't after class. No, not after class. Please get it here. This confused me when I was looking at it, so I can understand that. So the idea is multi-index. You have the entries are just think of it as n tuple, but the difference is that the entries here are integers,
Okay.
non-negative. So starting you can include 0. So write anyone you like. Now the derivative is that d alpha is a notation. Professor Jide has defined it as they call it d to the length.
Okay, so that is d the power 0. There's no, it's
Eh?
the order 0. The d, it's a d alpha if it's d0 as in it makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah. If you think of this,
So
it's
it's a
identity.
itself.
So that is f. Now, if you take any multi-index like that, like the one he wrote there, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, the first one tells you derivative with respect to x1.
Yes, yes.
The second one says represents x2. But 1, 1 means first derivative.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
So now you add 3 of the only 3. So it has to be d to the third power.
If you have, for example, 3 here,
So you have to.
what is d alpha f?
So it you
4, 1, 2, 3, 5.
Correct.
If the power 5.
So you df d4.
5.
Okay, it's 5
Mhm.
Then the,
over.
No, then you tell us yes.
the x1,
So
Correct.
you compute first derivative with respect
Yes.
to x1.
the x2 cubed.
So you compute derivative with respect to x2 but 3 times.
Cubed.
Cubed.
And
And then the x.
dx
And
and the last one. So
and that's what it is. So with this notation, we recover all partial derivatives.
if you have now 0, so it is equal to 0, it means that you compute any derivative.
Yes.
And so you have your function f. Is clear? Okay. Now here I use the same definition. D of omega is the set of C infinity function with compact support in omega. And if K is a compact subset of omega, dk of omega, this is just a notation, this is the set of C infinity function this compact support where in K. I take all C infinity function or all element in D of omega such that the support is in K. This is meaning of dk of omega. If f is in dk of omega, it means that f is in D of omega, but the support of f is in K. This is the meaning of this. Okay? And now let us see which topology we have in D of omega. We have D of omega, this is the vector space, and we want to put a topology in D of omega. And we will define this topology by using sequence. We will not take this D of omega. You see in the first, I give some exercise. You will see that D of omega is not a metric space. With this kind of convergence we will define. Means this kind of convergence we will define cannot come from any metric. So D of omega with this kind of convergence, with this topology defined by sequence, is not a metric space. Let us define the convergence we have in D of omega. Definition. So I take let phi n be a sequence in D of omega, and phi be an element of D of omega. We say that phi n converges to phi in D of omega if 1. There exists K compact subset of omega such that the support of phi n and the support of phi remain in K. It means we find a compact set which is fixed such that in this compact we have all support of phi n and the support of phi in the same compact. This K does not depend on n. It is the same for all these functions. This is 1. 2. For all multi-index alpha in n power n, we must have D alpha phi n converge to D alpha phi uniformly. We know what is the meaning of uniform convergence. This means the soup where x in omega. Here, if I want, I can take the soup on K because all support remain in K. The soup of this D alpha phi n of x minus D alpha phi of x, this converges to 0 as n goes to plus infinity. And this must be true for any multi-index alpha. If this is true for any multi-index, and if there exists this compact set, then we say that phi n converges to phi in D of omega. This convergence is stronger than the uniform convergence of f. Because if you take alpha to be 0, so here you have phi n converges to phi uniformly. But this is not enough. Phi n converges to phi uniformly is not enough to get the convergence in D of omega. Even D alpha phi n converges to D alpha phi uniformly is not enough because you may have a sequence such that this is true, but you cannot put all the support in the same compact. So for the convergence in D of omega to be true, we must have this one and this one. If 1 and 2 are satisfied, then we have the convergence in D of omega. And now we have a convergence in D of omega, and in D of omega now we will define continuity. All these things by using sequentially continuity. Means T is continuous if and only if. If phi n converges to phi, then T of phi n converges to T of phi. This is sequentially continuity. And so we have a topology in D of omega, and the topology we have in D of omega is the topology given by this kind of convergence. Okay? So let us see an example. I take let phi be a function in D of Rn. I take a function in D of Rn, phi, fixed. Phi now is fixed. And I define phi m of x to be 1 over m phi of x over m for x in Rm. And this I can define for n greater than 1.
N. Oh, yes, N.
Yes, and for all, yes, for m greater than 1. So I have a sequence phi m, and you can see, since what is the support of this function? How to compute the support of phi m? How to get the support of phi m? Look at the set of x. For example, if you take let k be the support of what? Of phi. I take k to be the support of phi. I know that if x is not on k, it means what? If x is not in the support, if x over m is not in the support of what? Of phi. This implies that phi m of x is equal to 0. So this implies what? X over m is not here. It means that x is not in m times the support of phi. Okay? So this implies that x is not in mk. This implies what? That phi of m of x is equal to 0.
Excuse me, x is not in the m
mk. K is a set. Mk is m times an element of k. K is the support of phi. Okay? Now, so that we have here from here is the set of x in Rn such that phi m different from 0. This set is where? Is in mk. If I take the closure, so I get the support of phi m. I get the support of phi m. So this implies that the support of phi m is where? Is in mk. Even you want to, you can prove it. Huh? The support is exactly mk. Here you have inclusion, that we prove. Huh? Here, look at, I have phi of m is defined like this. All that I know is, I know my function phi. So I look at this. I know that if this point is not in the support of phi, then this is equal to 0. But x over m is not in the support of phi is k. It means that if x over m is not here, then phi m of x is equal to 0. But this means only this. This is equal to this. If x is not here, then phi m of x is equal to 0. So by contrapposite, it means if phi m of x is different from 0, then x is here. So it means that the set of x such that phi m of x is different from 0 is in this set. And I take the closure. If I take the closure of this, that I get is exactly the support of phi m. And so the support of phi m is in mk. Okay? And here you will see that this support, in fact, that we have is the support of phi m is exactly mk. And if you see, for this sequence phi m to converge in d of omega, I don't know the limit, even I don't check. For this to converge, a necessary condition is we must find a fixed compact such that the support of all these functions stay in the same compact. It means for phi m to converge in d of Rn, for phi m to converge, we must find a compact set K prime such that the support of phi m is in K prime, and this must be true for all m. But this means we must have mk, because the support of phi m is mk, must be in some compact K prime fixed. But this is not true because this set is not bounded. mk. We can make big as you like this set. And so we cannot find a compact, because this means what? Since this set is compact, so this implies there exists some m positive such that norm of mx must be less than capital M. And this must be true for all x in K. Because I write the fact that this set is bounded. So there exists m positive such that for any point here, the norm of x is less than m. If you let m goes to plus infinity, you are in trouble. So we cannot find a compact set fixed such that this set stay in the same compact. So this sequence cannot converge in d of Rn. Yes?
Unless k is singleton zero.
Yes. Yes, unless k is singleton zero. If k is a singleton zero, it means what?
And k is zero.
Uh-huh.
Have the same compact.
It means what for phi? It means that if the support of phi is zero. What is the meaning of this?
That for all x outside 0, then phi.
What is the meaning for phi? If you have a function such that the support is zero,
That function is just non-zero or
Is zero.
zero.
Is zero.
it means what? The support is zero. It means that
Phi is
this,
zero.
it means support is the complement of what? This is omega complement. So it means that omega complement, and in omega f is equal to 0. In omega f is equal to 0. So it means that this function is equal to
0.
is equal to 0. Is equal to 0. So we don't because if phi is equal to 0, nothing to do. Phi m is also equal to 0. Okay. So this sequence cannot converge. I give you this because just to show you that we don't need only the fact that d alpha converges d phi uniformly. Because in many cases, when you ask to somebody to show that this converges, he just shows the second statement. D alpha of phi m converges to d alpha of phi uniformly.
Yes.
And because you may have, if you look at this sequence, if you make the computation, you will see that for this, d alpha of phi m will converge to 0 uniformly for this sequence. D alpha of phi m, look at phi m. Phi m converges to 0 uniformly because this function phi is bounded. So what you have is here, first to look at the first to see. I have phi m of x is less than 1 over m times some constant m. Because this function phi is of compact support, so this is bounded. So I can bound this term by m, and so this is true. And this implies that phi m converge to 0 uniformly. Okay? Look at the derivative with respect, first derivative for example. If I look at d phi over dxi of x, what is the derivative of this? It will give you 1 over m squared. You will have 1 over m squared d alpha d phi over dxi of x over m. The support of all derivative is inside the support of phi. We will see it. If you take any function, the support of d alpha f is inside the support of f. This we will see. So this function also is bounded because this function is C infinity and has compact support. So this is less than some constant m. And you will see that if you take the absolute value, this also will go to 0. So it means from this you will have d alpha of phi m converge to 0 uniformly. This is the second statement. The second statement is satisfied, but the first one is not satisfied. So this sequence does not converge uniformly. Okay?
Indeed.
This sequence does not converge uniformly in d of, does not converge in d of omega. Okay? So let us now define so from now in d of omega we have a topology, and the topology we have is the one defined by convergence in d of omega. Definition, I take let t from d of omega to r. So I take a function from d of omega to r. We say that t is a distribution if t is linear and continuous. Continuous we know in the sense if phi m converges to phi in d of omega, then t phi n, I denote like this, will t phi n means t of phi n. So this will converge to t of phi. This convergence is in R because t of phi n is a real number. So this converges to t of phi. This is the continuity in d of omega. And t is a distribution if t is a linear continuous functional from d of omega to R.
Is it enough to say, if you have to say continuous and t is linear and you want to say continuous, can you prove that it's bounded? Say t is linear and continuous is equivalent to saying t is linear and bounded.
No.
Bounded in which sense?
With sense. You don't have a norm here. You don't have a norm. The meaning of continuity here is clear. T is continuous means if phi n converges to phi in d of omega, then t of phi n converges to d of phi. Okay? If you are working now on normed linear space, so there we know what is the meaning of continuity.
So this one
Here we don't have a norm. We don't have even a metric, and we cannot find. We cannot find. There is an exercise in which I ask to show that this topology is not metric. We cannot find a metric which gives this convergence. So don't think about a norm, because even a metric you cannot find. Okay? So this convergence does not come from a metric. Continuity means phi n converges to phi implies this. But remark, in general, since t is linear, we have only to prove t continues if and only if phi n converges to 0 in d of omega, imply t of phi n converges to what?
0.
Converges to 0 because of linearity.
Continuous at the origin.
Correct.
Okay.
But not the one that has no.
So there's no structure. There's no structure. So
No, you
then
have a
that's-
structure, but it's TDS, it's the conjugate vector spaces.
Let us see one example of distribution. I take a Dirac distribution. Huh? So I take, let A be any point in omega. I define delta A from D of omega to R by, for any phi, we have delta A applied to phi is just phi of A. This is the Dirac distribution at A. If you take A to be 0, so you have the Dirac distribution at 0. Okay? So here, delta A is linear. This is obvious because of the definition of sum of function. If you take a delta A of phi 1 plus phi 2, you will have this is phi 1 plus phi 2 applied to A. So this is phi 1 of A plus phi 2 of A. And this is delta A of phi 1 plus delta 2 of phi 2. And so on. So linearity is obvious. Continuity now. We take, let phi n a sequence in D of omega such that phi n converges to 0 in D of omega. Now that we have is, if you compute delta A of phi n, this will give you what? This will give you phi n of A. But the convergence in D of omega implies the uniform convergence, and even it implies also the pointwise convergence. Since you have phi n converge to 0 in D of omega, this implies that phi n converge to 0 uniformly. In particular, phi n converge to 0 pointwise. And so this implies that phi n of A so will converge to 0. And so delta A here is a distribution. If you take this function h of x to be 1 if x is positive and 0 if x is negative, is this function is 1 here and is 0 here. This is the heavy side function. This is a heavy side function. And from this, you can define this distribution. T and this H from D of R. Here I work in R, omega is R. To R by phi, we have TH of phi is the integral over R of H phi dx.
Phi. Phi in D.
Yes, phi is in D of R. I take phi in D of R. Now this TH is a distribution. This we will see tomorrow, on Monday. More generally, if we have f, a function in L1 log of omega, from this function I define this map this distribution TF of phi, I define this TF phi is the integral over omega of f times phi dx. And we will show that for any function in L1 log, this function defines a distribution. This is one. If we show that this defines a distribution, d prime of omega is the set of distribution. So if this map defines a distribution, so we can take t defined from L1 log omega to d prime of omega. For each function here, we give just tf. So for any function in L1 log, we define the distribution tf. And so we will show that this map is 1-to-1. We show that t is linear and 1-to-1. If we will do it on Monday. If we show that t is linear and 1-to-1, this means we can look L1 log of omega has a subset of d prime of omega. It means from now, any function which is locally integral can be seen as a distribution. So if I take a function f in L1 log, I can say this function now is a distribution. And the distribution is just the distribution tf, defined like this. It is true for L1 log, but you can see LP is in L1 log of omega for all p. So from there, any LP function now can be seen as a distribution. And this, we will see that this subset also is a proper subset of d prime of omega. It means if there is some distribution which cannot be which cannot be seen as a function in L1 log, like we will see Dirac distribution. If you take the Dirac distribution, we know that delta 0 or delta 0 is here. Delta 0 is the distribution. But we will prove that there is no f in L1 log such that tf gives us exactly delta naught. And what is the meaning of this? It means that delta naught is not a function in the usual sense, because of the fact that we will show that if delta naught is here, we will show that there is no L1 log function such that the distribution tf here coincides avec this delta naught. So it means that delta naught is not a function. And so that we know is, if I take now any function in L1 log, this function is a distribution. But if you take a distribution, it is not necessarily a function like delta naught. So this set is strictly bigger than L1 log. So there are some distributions we cannot write by using a L1 log function. This is what we will do. And before this, after this, we will give a characterization of this continuity. So we can prove continuity without doing if phi n converges to phi, then t of phi n converges to t of phi. We will find a characterization of this. And this helps us to find what we call the order of a distribution. If we have a distribution, we can find its order. We will define the meaning of order of distribution by using this characterization of continuity. And from there, we will see many examples of distribution.
I just wanted to ask a question out of curiosity. I don't know whether it's true. This TF, to show that this TF phi is a distribution, when you're showing it,
you show that this map is well defined first.
Yeah, and for the continuity.
And you show that this map is linear and continuous.
What I'm saying is, when you're going to show that it's continuous, we use the fact that is that field in d omega is in d. It's in d. That field.
Yes.
So you will show you use the
TF
that
is defined from d of omega to r.
No, so you will use the other condition that if that integral is 0, then for every
No. What you have to show is if phi n converts to 0, then t of phi n converts to 0. This is what you have to show. What you have to show is this, by definition. For this to be continuous means if phi n converts to 0, you have to show that Tf applied to phi n, which is the integral over omega of f
That's what I'm telling him.
phi n.
Up there, it's commanding.
This converts to 0.
Yes.
So, and Castellar property.
Yes.
We go to. That's what I'm saying.
You have to show that this integral converts to 0. If phi n converts to 0 in d of.
That's what she's asking is because today you said something that if you have integral of f start phi n.
With phi
You cannot use it here.
With f in log.
You cannot use it here.
Doesn't work.
No, it's the Dewar-Raymond lemma. You cannot use Dewar-Raymond lemma. Say it's not this. You cannot use it here. Dewar-Raymond lemma say f phi dx is 0 for any phi. Imply f is equal to 0. Here our job is not to show that f is equal to 0. F is fixed and f is even we take f to be not 0 because if f is 0, our distribution is just the 0 distribution. So for this to make sense, we start by taking f not 0, and so Dewar-Raymond go away because we don't need it. The conclusion of Dewar-Raymond is to show that f is equal to 0. Here we start by taking a non-zero function. So don't think about Dewar-Raymond. It look like because you have f in L1 law, you have phi in d of omega, so you see only what you see on Dewar-Raymond lemma. But we don't have the same conclusion.
That was very smart. She was anticipating the proof. That's very good.
So from Monday we
Started
continue and we will see. We will define the meaning of support also of distribution and product of distribution. You will see. If I have two distribution, I cannot make the product. The product is not defined. But the product of a C-infinity function with a distribution is well defined. And we can use the derivative of product. This rule we know. Fg prime is Fg prime plus F prime G. This we will keep it also in distribution. If you have a function f times a distribution t, ft, this product is well defined. But if you have two distributions, t1 and t2, t1, t2, this product is not defined. And people don't want to define because even you define this product cannot be symmetric. There are many properties of product which will fail. And so we cannot define product of two distributions to get good property. Because it is just definition, you can define as you like. But the main thing is if you to get also some nice properties. So have a nice week.
We should have some concrete examples in the future.
Of course.
Of course.
So PDE.
Of course.
But you see the beauty, right? Everything is together now.
Give them baby analysis.
Eh? Starting from baby.
Everything.